And great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us this morning. I just put into the chat box again. For some of you, this is spam. You've seen it a few times, but I just put into the chat box again the agenda for today's discussion. It's a link directly into a shared document. So it's a good test, actually. We're going to be using some of that technology. We'll talk about that in a second. But before we start off, I'll just kind of open up to see if either Mackenzie or Lewis have anything that they would like to say at the start here. I'm kind of dumping it on you in surprise, so I'm sorry about that. But just before I started launching off into it, I thought it would be good to check in with you guys.
Thanks, Ted. Maybe I'll start, and then Lewis, I'll hand it off to you. Just to introduce myself, I'm Mackenzie Mindell. I'm the District 8 Council member, and I am the chair of the Climate Action Plan Steering Committee. And so I am here along with our Climate Action Plan Steering Committee and Lewis Coleman, supporting everybody in the work of creating a climate action plan. And I'm very, very happy to see all of you, some new faces, some folks I've never met before. So happy to have everyone here. And I will pass it over to Lewis.
Thanks, Councilmember Mindell. My name is Lewis Coleman. I'm the environmental planner for the city of La Crosse. So I'll be working with all of you throughout this process. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to get in touch. But thank you for being here, and I look forward to working with you all.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. So the second item on the agenda is just, we have a little space for public comments. Again, these being public meetings. Our suggested process is that, we of course want to have, if any member of the public that is not a member of the climate action planning team, if any member of the public joins the session, just wanting to give a couple of minutes of space in case they have something that they would like to talk about or share related to the agenda or the topics at hand. So I'll just open it up just to see if there are any members of the public that are not members of the climate action planning team. Just kind of taking a quick list, check through the attendees. I don't think that's the case, but I'll just give it a moment here, see if there's anybody here that's just a member from the public, not on the planning team, that would like to say anything. Give it another few seconds here. Okay. All right. Well, not to cut short any intended sharing, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. And let's see if I can actually get it to share. There we go. Okay. All righty. So welcome everybody to meeting number 1 for the climate action planning team for the La Crosse CAP. This meeting is, as we call it, it's our introduction meeting. It's really what it's about, just to kind of give us an overview of what we're doing here together, how this team might kind of work, kind of give you a high level opportunity to see what we're going to be doing, some of the tools that we'll have available to us, talk a little bit about what we're doing for community engagement and some next steps sorts of things. I'll highlight kind of in the middle of the agenda there. It'll be in a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so. An opportunity for all of the CAP team members to introduce themselves. I like to highlight that because if I'm in a big group meeting and I get it dropped on me all of a sudden, like, okay, introduce yourself. Sometimes that's frustrating. So I just want to pull it out now so everybody sees that. Just an opportunity to share, kind of who are you? If you're a resident or if you represent an organization, and maybe just share a thought that you'd like to share with the group related to the climate action plan. Maybe what motivates you, what gets you excited about this, what concerns you, what gets you excited about the idea of having a CAP plan for La Crosse, anything like that. Just something that helps folks get to know you a little bit. So that's coming up in a little bit. I just wanted to give you a heads up that it's going to happen. All righty. So I'm kind of a quote person. I love quotes. And so some of the meetings here, I'll have a tendency of starting off with a quote. And I kind of love this one because it talks to the importance of a broad, robust team like this. So the quote is, "To address our climate emergency, we must rapidly, radically reshape society. We need every solution and every solver. To change everything, we need everyone. What this moment calls for is a mosaic of voices, the full spectrum of ideas and insights for how we can turn things around." That's from the book, All We Can Save. And I love that because it summarizes the meaningfulness of a broad team like this. And I think it sort of sets the tone for what the intent is, which is for us to share multiple perspectives and views and to help us navigate a broad range of potential and arrive at what's appropriate for La Crosse. And we're going to do that through the input of everybody on the team. So it's a very collaborative process, and I think it helps us to achieve the goal that this statement sort of illustrates. Okay, so a little introduction as to who I am. I will first start off with Pale Blue Dot as a firm. So Pale Blue Dot, our mission is to hasten the transition to a carbon-free economy and to elevate the public discourse. We do that in a number of different ways. Largely, though, it's around climate planning. So we do climate vulnerability assessments, climate action plans, greenhouse gas inventories, and the like. We also do sustainability and resilience consulting, and we do renewable energy consulting. Our firm's a small firm located here in the Twin Cities. But we get around quite a bit. We've done 50 plus relevant projects in 22 states. And so we're small, but we travel. A lot of it's via internet like this. But we're a very focused firm, focused on that kind of work. In terms of our team, staff on our team, so I am Ted Redmond. I just realized they never uttered my name yet. So I am Ted Redmond. I'm a principal and partner with Pale Blue Dot, along with Colleen, my partner. Colleen unfortunately cannot be here today. She had a conflict, but Colleen will lead our youth engagement efforts. As a part of our team, we have a few other firms with us. The next is EcoAdapt. And EcoAdapt will be leading the climate adaptation work. And Laura, you're online. You want to just introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Laura Hilberg. I am with EcoAdapt, and we are a small nonprofit. There's about 7 of us right now, and we are centered on Bainbridge Island in Washington, near Seattle. I myself live in Western Massachusetts, though. And yeah, we'll be leading the vulnerability and adaptation portion of this project. We've been working with a lot of communities around the country over the last couple of years, especially as more and more people are wanting to take on sort of adaptation planning work. So I'm excited to work with you all.
Great, thanks, Laura. We also have sustainability analytics as a research and engagement support partner. And Anders, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm Anders Olson, sustainability analytics. I've been writing for the past several years, so you may have connected with me that way. I do live here in La Crosse, and I'm looking forward to playing a support role in this important climate action planning work.
Great. Thanks, Anders. And Huda, are you on? I think you had a conflict. We also have transformational solutions, Huda Ahmed, and Huda will be leading our equity engagement. She's doing outreach, looking to connect with partners and community groups that can help us increase equity engagement, and will be helping us review actions against an equity frame set. And then lastly, but not least, we have Nichols Marketing, Paul Nicholas, who will be helping us to create a climate action plan implementation communications plan. It's a lot of words in that statement, but it'll help kind of put together a framework for communications following the completion of the plan. All right, so I'll just pause for a second just to see if there's any questions anybody has right off the bat. Okay. And I'll tend to do that because if I don't, I'll just keep talking. All right, so a little bit about the project overview. Why are we here? So of course, the core of the project is to develop a new climate action plan for La Crosse. That plan is intended to guide action citywide as well as for municipal operations. The planning process will review and establish overall climate goals, as well as establish strategies and actions to achieve those goals. Oops. Key to that is the question, what is a climate action plan? So a climate action plan is a comprehensive roadmap that outlines specific strategies and detailed actions. What specifically will we be doing that a city can implement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions related to climate impacts? And the La Crosse Climate Action Plan is anticipated to address both mitigation as well as adaptation. So mitigation is reducing climate change. It means reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. And adaptation is to developing ways to help protect people and places by reducing their vulnerability to climate impacts. A climate action plan will address broad sectors. So they're very broad, comprehensive plans. They typically, as I've indicated, we're going to have both mitigation and adaptation sectors. So mitigation sectors are largely buildings and energy, transportation and land use considerations, solid waste and recycling kinds of considerations. Those categories do also have adaptation considerations, but they have a lot of mitigation potential and focus as well. The primary adaptation sectors are things like water and wastewater, flooding considerations, climate health and safety, food and agriculture considerations, green space, tree canopies, ecosystems, all things green and growy, and climate economy. And as I've indicated, just like with mitigation, although those are largely adaptation sectors, there are aspects that can help contribute to mitigation as well. So they do interrelate with each other, but by and large, you can think of the sectors on the top being largely focused on reducing our emissions, and the sectors on the bottom being largely focused on increasing our resilience or our adaptation to climate change. So as I've indicated, that plans will be organized with overarching goal statements and strategic goals and strategies, and then have detailed actions to achieve those goals. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a sense as to what some of those words mean. So strategies or strategic goals are specific statements of direction that expand on the climate action vision, GHG reduction goals, and guide decisions about future public policy, community investment, and action. So they're large directional sorts of statements. An example is reduce community-wide consumption by 10% for electricity and 10% for natural gas by 2030. So it's a cleared statement. We're clearly understanding what our goal here is, and it gives clear direction. But you'll see that when you read it, if you are left with the immediate question of, okay, yeah, but how? Then you're kind of in the strategy statement realm. They're large and directional, but it's not detailed. It doesn't give you steps yet. So we will infill underneath those detailed actions, which are items that should be implemented in order to carry out the vision and strategies outlined in the plan. So a detailed action example is establish a large business energy efficiency program to promote building improvements and practices that reduce energy use. Target 10 large businesses commissioned annually. So you'll see that that's a very detailed statement. We may still have some questions about how will we actually develop that program? I mean, some things will be developed as an action is implemented, but you'll see that it really gives a lot of strong detailed guidance on what needs to be done, even including a target, trying to hit so many businesses in a year. So we'll be creating strategic statements that are very directional, that'll give us a clear sense of what we want to achieve. And then we'll be creating detailed actions that give us specific steps that we will implement in order to achieve those strategies. So what types of actions can go into a CAP? There's all sorts of actions, of course. I tend to think of them loosely in 4 categories, though. It kind of helps us think a little bit about the potentials. So the first category is examples. So leading by example. What I mean by that is, so this is a municipal plan. The city of La Crosse owns buildings, owns properties, has a fleet, etc. So the city can implement projects that can certainly reduce the city's own operational greenhouse gas emissions, but also can help lead by example, can help illustrate to other community members how a certain action can be done or the value of a certain action. So there are example type actions that can come into a plan. There are incentivizing types of actions. So incentives can be literally an incentive. Put solar on your roof and we're going to give you a $500, property tax rebate or something like that. Incentives can also be seeking to make people's lives easier. Or for instance, if you're going to submit for a building permit, if you do A, B, and C, maybe your building permit goes through an expedited process, gets it done a little bit faster. So there can be things that can be incentivizing that simply make things more easy for folks to do. Advocating. So advocating can be both traditional sort of advocacy, going to the state legislature and advocating for a rule change, advocating with the federal government, for instance. It can also be educating, putting together information and sharing information with the public or businesses so that they can learn about things that they can do and why those are good actions or what resources might be available for them to do certain things. Another type of action is requiring. So requirements can be literally, legal requirements. Think of, say, an ordinance change, or they can be guidance requirements like policies within the municipal government structure, a policy that says we will do A, B, and C when we do our new buildings as a municipal entity. It can also be, you can also think of requirements that may be kind of a low-level requirement. An example that I often use is some municipalities looking at the idea of when you submit for a building permit for a building of X size or larger, that you are required to submit a solar feasibility assessment. You're not required to do the solar, you're just required to do a solar feasibility assessment. And that is often done through, can be even done free of charge through solar installers that are looking to educate potential clients about what solar could be for them. So the intent there is a low-level requirement, but it helps to encourage and educate folks. So it's a kind of a requirement that helps to advocate. So those are examples of the kinds of actions that might be out there. I'm sorry, I just saw a chat box, a question from Mark Newman. Mark asks, as the city will be producing electricity from waste treatment plant volatile gas capture, will this count as meeting the target of reducing city consumption of electricity by 10%? So that's a great question. The first thing I want to clarify too is that example that I put out there, I just made up, right? So we'll together decide the specific goals that we will have. So I don't want to mislead anybody. But under that example, if we have a goal to reduce electric consumption, if we are generating energy through a means like gas capture, that may help us reduce the emissions associated with the electricity, but it would not reduce our electric consumption, if I'm understanding what you're saying. Yeah. So under that scenario, that would be a good strategy. It's a good strategy. It's going to help us reduce emissions associated with electricity, but it doesn't necessarily do anything related to the goal of, say, reducing electric consumption. And so, and typically we'll probably find that we'll have some goals that relate both to reducing emissions associated with the energy that we consume and also looking to reduce how much energy we consume. So, okay, so what we will ultimately be producing, there are three core components. There are a few other things that we're going to be producing beyond this, but there are three core components associated with the Climate Action Plan, the way we put them together. One is a full-on plan. You know, if any of you are familiar with municipal plans, like a comprehensive plan, which the city is also going through, we will produce a plan document. It'll have some background information. It'll have detailed data that helps support what we're doing. It'll be publicly consumable, kind of focusing towards being a public document that folks can read. It'll have all the actions identified, et cetera, and also kind of mapping out next steps that the city can take in terms of implementing it. In addition to that, we will also be producing what we call an implementation matrix, which is going to be all of those actions and strategies that are in that static document, but they're going to exist in an Excel spreadsheet that provides sort of a basis for ongoing monitoring and reporting of those actions. So the work that we will be doing together here will end up coming into both a plan document that's a static document, as well as a tool that will be available to Lewis and others in the city as they work on implementing the actions, as sort of a living, breathing tool that helps them track the actions, progress, and who's doing what, who their partners are, et cetera. We also will put together a database of example policies and ordinances. So as we make our way through the plan, we anticipate that there may be some actions that either explicitly say, hey, establish a policy that does A, B, and C, or there might be actions or strategies that could benefit from exploring certain policies. And so we keep a very large database of example municipal policies, and we'll be kind of refining that and honing that in to support some of the key actions and strategies in the plan. The intent there is that you know, as the city maybe explores development of a policy, we have found that oftentimes it's great to start by just seeing what's out there. So we want to provide example policies or ordinances that relate to the Climate Action Plan, so that as implementation begins, there's a place to begin, some place to start looking at examples to learn from their mistakes or what we can glean from them. If you're interested in seeing examples of climate action plans, recent climate action plans, there's a link here. This will also be linked on our team page. But basically it's just our website and then /cap-examples-for-team. And as I say, this will be linked on the team webpage too, if you're interested. You don't need to go look at the other examples at all, certainly not, just if you're interested. Okay, so the purpose of the climate action planning team here that we are all now assembling, the role is the collaborative co-creation of the CAP. And so Pale Blue Dot, we are responsible to you know, make sure that the whole plan comes together and be producing the plan. But we believe that the most effective plans for climate action come from as much kind of ground source, you know, participation of community members as possible. And that's the role of the CAP team. So that role, you'll be helping in supporting in reviewing, refining, and prioritizing strategic goals. So you'll help us decide together what are we focusing on. You're going to help us then explore, create, review, and refine actions to achieve those strategic goals. You're going to help support in identifying what the community might need to be empowered for near or long-term implementation. So it's sort of helping us think through how might our community members be empowered to implement these actions, or i.e. what roadblocks are there so that we can get around them, and supporting and communicating the consensus of the resulting plan to the extent that you feel comfortable and you want to. Being a climate action plan team member is, I think it's a very important role. It's a fantastic contribution to your community, and you will be very highly well versed in the plan when we're said and done, because you will have been an author in the plan. And we find that, you know, people will listen to team members when they talk about why certain things exist in the plan. So the ability to support the consensus of the resulting plan, I think, is huge. The ability to share it with city council members for certain, but, you know, also your neighbors or businesses, et cetera. So that's an opportunity there. And the other thing that I like to throw out here is that everyone in this virtual room will absolutely has critical expertise in making a great plan for the city of La Crosse. I absolutely guarantee it. And I say that because you know, we have a very big team. This is actually the largest team that we've done a climate action plan with. I'm kind of excited to work with such a huge and great group. And we have a lot of diversity, people from all sorts of different backgrounds and experiences. And some folks may feel like they have certain expertise that relate to the climate action plans. Some folks may look at the climate action plan and say, I don't really know if I have any expertise here. And what I want to underscore is everybody on this team absolutely has expertise that will be contributed to making a great plan. And I'm 100% positive of it. I've seen it every single time. Some person who doesn't feel like they necessarily have a lot of expertise, I've seen them always help us make the plan better. It always happens. It's one of the most exciting, fun things about doing this planning effort is working with a broad, robust team. So I'll just pause to see if there's any questions. I think there may. Oh, thanks. I see Lewis put into the chat box the CAP examples. Thanks, Lewis. So I'll be quiet for a second, see if there's any questions. Feel free to just let it rip. Take yourself off of mute if you want. I see a raised hand. Go ahead. It's a phone number that I see that has a raised hand.
Hi. Yeah, hi. This is Kathy Van Maren. I kept getting kicked off of the Zoom, so I'm calling in. And I just mentioned this because if things go in the chat or if something's on a slide, if you could either read it out or make it available after the meeting in another format, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, and what will happen after each one of these meetings, if there's a presentation like this, the full presentation will be on the team page so that you'll have access to that. And then absolutely, if there is a document that's shared or something like that, it'll also be available on the team page. So thank you very much for that. And after each of these meetings, I will send a follow-up email to the whole team so that if somebody misses a meeting, they'll kind of get an understanding of what we're doing next. And I always make sure to remember to put the links to the team page in those emails. So hopefully everybody will have ready access to those things. But it's a great point. And if along the way, if you feel like you're missing something, that you're not getting a hold of something, feel free to contact me. That's a great point. I think there was another person with a raised hand.
Hi, yeah, I think that's me. I'm Jamie. I was just curious, and we might cover this during the planning process, is how do we do long-term implementation of the plan? And like, is there like a long-term funding, or like, do you check in after 5 or 10 years? Is this something we'll like go over in the planning process?
So those are great questions, and those explicit questions aren't necessarily covered in my little presentation for today. So they're perfect questions. First of all, in terms of like long-term implementation, one thing I like to point out is, which I didn't say, climate action plan. I strongly urge communities to think of them as living documents. And so the reason for that is that, you know, we may have a goal for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years out of the road, down the road, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2040, et cetera. I mean, these sort of longer term goals that are very important to have long-term goals, because we need to know where ultimately we're aiming. But of course, we're not necessarily going to know every single thing that needs to happen or exactly how it's going to happen to get from point A to point Z 20 years from now, necessarily. And even if we mapped it out, I can guarantee you that over a span of 20 years, stuff will change enough that the actions that you thought you're going to be doing 18 years from now probably are different from what we'll actually do 18 years from now. So in terms of planning scope, we look towards about a 10-year planning window. So our plan will be focused. We can have goals that can go further than that, but in terms of our actions that we're thinking about in the implementation timeframe, looking at about a 10-year window. And that doesn't mean that we won't necessarily have actions that we wait 10 years to do, but maybe some of those actions implementation begins in year 5 or something, right? So it's going to be a little bit of time before some actions get going. But it's very important to think of it as a living document, because what we'll certainly be suggesting, as we always do in our implementation section, we always suggest that a city plan on reviewing the progress of the plan at regular intervals. So that can be annually, it can be every like a biennial time frame every 2 years. That can vary depending on what's appropriate for the specific city and staffing and so forth. We also usually suggest that there be an implementation team kind of stitched together from that represent different parts of the municipal operations, because climate action, as that initial quote, we need everybody in order to make strong change, and that is even within the city. So there's no way this plan definitely won't be able to be implemented by Lewis all by himself. Certainly Lewis and others will be super key people, but it's going to take lots of folks to be aware of it and to be engaged in it. So we will usually map out a suggestion for how the municipality can organize itself to get things going. Hopefully that answers your questions.
Yeah, thank you. That helps me like imagine what we're going into.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other raised hands, but if I miss you, please feel free to just speak out. I've been doing Zoom for 2 years now, like everybody else, and presenting, I have a hard time tracking when somebody has their hand raised and so forth. So please, absolutely feel free to speak up at any time that you want. All right, so now is the time for the much promised opportunity for all of you to share a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to call folks out based on the participant list. Hopefully we all see the same participant list, and it'll move around. So if I miss you, please don't let me get away with that. I'm going to try really hard to make sure that I track everybody. But if you can just, and we'll start off with Lewis, maybe just because we'll pick on him because he's our staff leader here. But if you can just share, just give us your name, rank, and serial number, so to speak. Who you are, your affiliation. I'm a resident, or I'm a member of a certain group, etc. And then just share a thought that you would like to share with this group. Maybe what motivates you to participate in this effort, or what your excitement is, or what makes you excited about a plan for climate action for La Crosse, or maybe goals or concerns you may have about the CAP. So with that, I'll just start off. Lewis, would you mind starting us off?
Sure, thanks, Ted. Yeah, so my name is Lewis Kuhlman. I live in downtown La Crosse. I work for the city. I'm at City Hall, so if anybody is around there, wants to stop by, maybe you can. What motivates me about this is the possibility of having like really more specific and concrete goals. I feel like our strategic plan for sustainability was a good start, and I really think that this process will help us refine that and put really concrete numbers to our greenhouse gas emissions and where we're going in the future. So yeah, I'm excited about working with all of you and getting a lot of community buy-in through the process. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Louis. And then the next person that I see on the list, it just shows up as number 2. Does anybody know who they are that is number 2? We can come back also. Next one is Adam Lawrence.
Yep, trying to start my video there. All right, too many buttons. Yeah, thanks. So I'm Adam Lorenz. I'm the transit director for the city of La Crosse. Excitement for this is I like that we have all walks of life on this call here. Anybody that knows about trying to do any type of plan or action of any type, you need different aspects, and whether it's a small project or a large project, to have the different opinions and input is really going to be beneficial, I think, to create something that's actually viable and valuable. So goals are concerned with anything is just, one is the sell to other people to know the importance. And then with anything is with all great ideas is implementation of such projects. So thanks for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with everybody on the call here.
Thanks, Adam. Next is Beth.
Hi, my name is Beth Pegash. I am a resident of La Crosse, wife and mother of younger children here. And I actually work for the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. So I come and am motivated to participate both from a community that is connected to spirituality and creation, serving with a social justice lens, and also as a mother with future generations that are La Crosse residents. I think what excites me most about this is that it looks to put action behind the words, and it's not just going to be a document. I'm a little concerned about how this ties in with other plans that the city may or may not have, as well as with the county and with the state, making sure that all of those things are aligned, because also from my perspective, I am here to participate and represent FSPA, but FSPA is also going through a similar process through a lens from the Catholic Church called Laudato Si action planning. So it's very much aligned, and I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Beth. Next, Brandon Knudsen.
Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, my name is Brandon Knudsen. I am the general manager at Hilltopper Refuse Recycling. So if you don't know who Hilltopper is, we are a family owned and operated hauler of refuse and recycling. So we do curbside collection for residential. We do commercial collection as well. But so I've always been intrigued. I've been with working in the solid waste recycling industry for about 5 years. So I've been interested in seeing how we can progress it in La Crosse. We're not as developed as, say, the Twin Cities, and I think I always kind of I've got siblings and stuff that live in the Twin Cities, and so I kind of always put myself back in their shoes. It's like they've got some cool things going on in the Twin Cities, so I think I kind of want to start bringing some of that stuff back in, my expertise when it comes to solid waste and recycling, kind of start roping in some new things in the La Crosse County area, especially the city of La Crosse. But yeah, just overall, I'm kind of excited to broaden my personal development and, like I said, bring this back to the company of Hilltopper, because we are kind of more than this, just that collector. So we kind of want to get a little bit more engaged in the community. So if it's going to be stuff like this, it's definitely enjoyable on our end. So I'm glad to be here. So thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks, Brendan. Brian, ask.
Um, I'm Brian Ash. I work for the city of La Crosse, and I'm in the utilities department, project specialist. I've worked for the city for 7+ years, different departments. I worked in engineering for a while and done a lot of road construction and utilities. Worked for the city, and then I've lived in the city my entire life, and I'm just kind of happy to be here and bring my knowledge and background to this team and see what we can do with it.
Great, thanks, Brian. Charlie, Handy.
Just in case he's not going to appear on camera, he did type an introduction in the chat. He says, "My name's Charlie Handy, planner at the La Crosse County. We are finishing drafting our comp plan, which includes sustainability and resiliency as a core value and a full chapter on the plan. We are also in the process of hiring a planner for sustainability and resilience planning. One of our current drafted goals is to complete a climate action plan in 2022. Thank you."
Excellent, great, thank you. Okay, Carol Abrahamson.
Yes, my name is Carol Abrahamson, and I'm the Executive Director at Mississippi Valley Conservancy, the local land trust in the area. Back in 2018, we started to address climate change by creating a committee that was comprised of board members and community members as well as staff. Through that committee, we created a board-approved climate action plan that we started to implement internally in 2019 and 2020 in the work that we do. And then in 2021, we created an external climate action plan document, as well as adding a robust section to our website all about climate change and the work that we are doing, but also the work that everybody can be doing together. And really the emphasis of both the climate action plan for the public and on our website is what we can do together. And so that's really our goal in working with the city, is how can we help? How can we be a partner? And how can we solve these issues together?
Excellent, thank you. And Carol, if you get a sec, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you could dump into the chat box the link to the website resource that you just mentioned. That'd be great. Maybe, you know, if anybody that is interested, they could take a look at it. Casey Meehan.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Meehan. I am a resident of La Crosse. I'm also a father of 2 young boys, and I am the director of Sustainability and Resilience at Western Technical College. We actually at Western started our sustainability work in 2007. We signed what was called the President's Climate Commitment, which put it out there that we publicly believed climate change was happening and that colleges have something to offer as far as leading the charge and addressing it. So really proud of the work that Western's done over the last 14 years or so. We have in fact, it just finished our latest greenhouse gas assessment, and we're down 54% in our emissions since our baseline year in 2010. So it's pretty fun. We are starting to draft our second climate action plan here for campus and overall sustainability plan. So we have that going on this spring and into the summer. And then also in my capacity here at Western, I also help direct the Sustainability Institute, which is its own 501c3 house here on campus. And our mission is really to sort of celebrate and elevate some of the cool sustainability efforts that are happening in the Driftless area. I'm really excited to be part of this group and thrilled that there are so many people involved. I think that speaks volumes for the city of La Crosse, and I think that's really going to be beneficial in addressing some of the concerns I think that others have mentioned, and I have them as well, is how do we actually move this forward? And I think, you know, the more boulders we have pushing on this, or the more hands we have pushing on this boulder, the better off we are. So look forward to working with everyone.
Thanks, Casey. Char Wagner.
I am Char Wagner. I'm the City of La Crosse Recycling Coordinator, Street Supervisor. My responsibilities for the City of La Crosse range from educating residents on proper recycling, trying to find ways to reduce their waste and even reuse it, keep it out of the landfill. Pam Hartwell and I coordinate very well together. And to make sure that the City of La Crosse is DNR compliant. I've worked for the city for 33 years in different capacities and have been a City of La Crosse resident for, I guess, around that, about the same amount of time. I'm excited about what we're doing because I have 2 grandsons who need to grow up in this and have a future.
Thank you. See, next on the list I have here is Charlie.
Hey everybody, Charlie Jalen, native to La Crosse, Mount Calvary, Longfellow Central. I work at the train company. I'm the decarbonization program manager for North America. I work with our largest national accounts, so customers like McDonald's, Microsoft, etc., GM, on their decarbonization journeys. So a lot of them have very public goals, carbon neutral by 2030, carbon neutral by 2040. We partner with them to help them along that journey and provide solution sets that lower their emissions. The reason I'm excited about this is I grew up here. I have got a background in solutions that can help lower carbon emissions, and it felt like a good opportunity to give back to the community I grew up in.
Wonderful, thank you. See the next on the list, it says, it looks like Conroy K.
Okay, thanks, Ted. That's me. I'm Kevin Conroy. I'm with the City of La Crosse, and I'm in the planning department and run the housing rehabilitation loan program for them. What excites me and motivates me really was all contained in your slide under the project overview. So it looks like you've done this before. But really, you hit the bullet points in example, incentivizing, advocating, and requiring for the areas that I'm really interested in, and that's net zero. And, so I want to see the implementation of a net zero program throughout the city of La Crosse. And really my concern is that how soon can we implement something like this? We have, a lot of what I'd call signature projects underway in the city of La Crosse. And, there's a planned urban development, which is, large development. And it worries me that we're going to miss opportunities with those projects. So that's really my concern. How quickly can we get some standards in place that we can implement on these projects immediately? So thank you.
Great comments, thank you. Let's see, Glenn Jenkins.
Hello, everyone. I am a retired school administrator from La Crosse. I was involved with the natural step study groups that started about 20 years ago now. From that, a group of us started Cooley Partners for Sustainability, a 501c3. With Cooley Partners, we did start the Earth Fair that takes place right now. We did a lot of educational programming throughout the city and in our schools. We were affiliated with the Northwest Earth Institute and their discussion groups. And we held discussion groups in a variety of different places throughout the city for about over 500 people in the city of La Crosse. Since that time, Cooley Partners has merged with the Sustainability Institute, and I'm on the board of directors for the Sustainability Institute right now. I'm also involved with the Citizens Climate Lobby. I've been to Washington, D.C. twice to lobby the Senate and Congress to put a tax on carbon. And my concern is that way back 20 years ago, when Natural Steps started, we did similar things to what you're talking about right now. And I felt we were making progress. And then all of a sudden, it just disappeared. It just went away. There was a city-county sustainability commission that met monthly, and we're doing some good things, and good things came out of that, but it disappeared. And my hope is that we're a little smarter this time, and we could have the commitment of the city behind us to really make a difference, because we're running out of time.
Great, thank you. Okay, next on my list here that I have is Ian Turner.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Ian Turner. I'm the director of La Crosse Regional Airport. I've been a resident of La Crosse for the better part of the last 2.5 years. My hope here is to identify some ways that the La Crosse Airport can support the Climate Action Plan. And personally, this is not an area that I have a whole lot of experience or education, and being a lifelong learner, I hope to learn at least 1 or 2 things through this process.
Excellent. Jacky Davis.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacky Davis. I work for the La Crosse County Landfill. I have been there for about 7 years now. I'm excited to be a part of this program. I certainly think it's not a new idea, but definitely a great step for La Crosse County to be taking, and definitely heading in the right direction. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Wonderful, thank you. Next, Jamie Strange.
Hi, I am Jamie Strange. I am a biologist here at the U.S. Geological Survey. We are right across from the airport. So hi, Ian. I also am an expert in GIS. So I'm technically a biologist by degree, but I do a lot of GIS mapping. So I collaborate with a lot of our scientists here and our federal and state partners. We work with the DNR, we work with the Army Corps, and obviously the city and the counties. So we see a lot of, one thing that I'm really passionate about is we see a lot of changes on our upper Mississippi River system. And so I'm a river rat and I'm really passionate about our area. I've lived in La Crosse for many years, and I'm a wife and mother. So I just really want to preserve the natural resources of our area and represent the river in the best way I can. Thanks, excited to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. See, Katherine Fish.
Hi everyone, I'm Katherine. It's really fun hearing everybody's backgrounds and why they're excited to be here. So thanks for doing this little intro. I am here as a resident, a newer resident than some of you, it sounds like. I've been living in La Crosse for 5 years now. I moved down here for my job. I'm a librarian at UWL. And I was looking for ways to get more directly involved in climate action when this popped up on my radar. So I was super excited. And I really love that you've opened it up to residents like me. I think it seems like a pretty unique opportunity. I'm really excited about just the opportunity to get into, as some of you have said, kind of the more concrete action and out of kind of the big picture idea phase, which is also exciting. But I'm looking forward to seeing the more specific actions that we can take as a city and to support those efforts. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Kelsey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey McClymans, and I am an assistant professor at Viterbo University in nutrition and dietetics. And something I'm excited about is that I obviously work a lot with our students, and I see how excited they are about the climate and sustainability. And so excited to take what we learn in this committee and bring it back to Viterbo and see how our students can get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. Leah Miller.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leah Miller. I work for the City of La Crosse in the Parks Department. And I'm really pleased to be involved in this process, and hearing everyone's introductions. There's a lot of experts here. So I'm looking forward to engaging with everyone throughout this process. And really looking forward to those strategic improvements that we can make to make our city a more sustainable place to live. Thank you.
Wonderful. Lily Bloom.
Hi, my name is Lily Bloom, and I'm a resident of La Crosse. I work in marketing operations at Inland Packaging. My motivation to participate came from just wanting to be more involved in the community, and to echo what others have said, I'm excited to see the actionable items that we can come up with to start moving forward and see some progress.
Wonderful. Let's see. Mackenzie Mindel.
Thanks, Ted. I'm Mackenzie Mandela. I spoke at the beginning. I'm the council member for District 8. And off the top of my head, I just want to say that I'm realizing, listening to all of you, that I feel like at least half of you are people that I listened to in my undergraduate career and my graduate career, and you all have incredibly inspired me. And it's a wild feeling to be here in the room with all of you. As you just heard, I am a young mama, and I care a great deal about the effects of climate change on our children and on all systems. And I am thrilled to be here with all of you and take part in this. And I think one thing that's at the top of my mind after listening to the speaker last night at the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, she's a climate epidemiologist, and she spoke about our energy goals and energy efficiency and our energy reliance, getting that away from coal. And she mentioned, who is this really for? And so I am so thrilled that all of us are here and we have a wide variety of people, and also recognize that there are still a lot of people who are not in this process, in this specific room, just because of logistics reasons. And so I ask us all to make sure that we're always thinking about that. How can we include the voices of those who are not currently in the room? And I know that we will be able to do that. And so again, I'm just thrilled to be with all of you. Hi to everybody who I've known, and hello to everybody who I am just meeting. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, and a great reminder. Mark Newman.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Newman. I'm one of the council members, a colleague to Mackenzie, representing District 13 in our city of La Crosse. And I am here because when Beth spoke earlier about her association with the Franciscan sisters and our love for creation and the Franciscan spirituality, I know that runs deeply in my heart and soul as well. I think more specifically, it's because I experience anxiety about the future of that creation. And my son, an adolescent, some years ago, asked his father, me, a question. And so fathers that hear questions from their children, especially when they're adolescents, stop and listen, because sometimes they just deign to talk to you. And he asked me, Dad, why is it that your generation screwed things up? Your boomer generation screws things up that's left to our generation to repair. And I guess that was when he was learning in his science courses, about our situation on planet Earth. And in any case, that question does nothing but augment my own anxiety. And I think that a gathering like this is wonderful, because when you started your presentation at the beginning, I saw all of those practical ways of actually acting. And I think action, taking one step after another, is the greatest response to anxiety. Just move, take another step. And that would be my goal. Just like Kevin said, it's not 50% reduction. It's not, some 30% reduction. It is zero emissions. That is our target. And we can all just take one step, another step, and really deal with our angst so that we put that energy into improvement. So I am hopeful that the work of this group will result in some petitions that can come before Common Council. And I'm loving to think the thought that I'll be able to vote on them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Mitch Reynolds. Is Mitch still there? I'm looking at a static list. And I see that we may have lost Mitch. Unfortunately, I saw we lost somebody. Okay. And Mitch, if you're there, we'll come back. So anybody that I missed, we'll come back for. Oh, are you there?
This is Lewis. I was just gonna say, Mitch Reynolds is our mayor. He's very interested in this process. He's not a member of the CAP team, but he wanted to be with you all today.
Wonderful, thank you. Nathan.
Petros?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Hey, no, that's okay. I'm Nate Petros, proud resident of La Crosse, via Emerson, Lincoln, and Central, and also a proud parent of two here in the area. A little bit about myself. I was an Air Force veteran in facilities maintenance, came back to La Crosse and studied environmental policy at UW, and then went on to Madison for sustainable development. I was a planner for the city of La Crosse for a little bit, worked on the sustainability report. I think we were doing some good work there, and a lot of other sustainable, I guess, policies that we're working on throughout the years. I'm very excited to be involved here, kind of getting back in action here with outreach and whatnot. Currently, I'm an energy advisor. I help school and government folks in the Driftless area. So I'm just excited to get in the nitty gritty of things and understand what our metrics are and how we're going to get there. We have a lot of good plans, a lot of great staff. Understanding the comprehensive plan and ways to incorporate different things, not just with energy, but one of your slides mentioned the green infrastructure elements, also very important. So glad to be part of the deal here, and I appreciate being asked to be involved. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Nate. Let's see, Pam Hartwell.
Hey everybody, I'm Pam Hartwell. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Habitat for Humanity La Crosse area. We cover about 4 counties, and all of our homes are Energy Star certified so that we're not passing on high utility bills and lack of sustainability to our Habitat homeowners, of which we have 55 families in those four counties. I grew up in this area, and then I had the joy of spending about 25 years out in California as an activist, an advocate, an educator, and council member and mayor of a wonderful town out there that really pushed, and Lewis has heard me go on about community choice aggregation, which is a law in about 6 states. 23 some years ago, I came on as an advocate, really pushing community choice aggregation. And the great thing about it is it allows, well, I'll tell you also, like we succeeded in getting the community choice law passed and getting it pushed in our community. And I just looked up, Marin Clean Energy is the name of the entity that it became. I just looked it up, and they've put $2 billion into new power builds. They've built 810 megawatts in Northern California in 10 years, because it's a system that really has in place first energy efficiency, second, new power build, but then also the choice of the community. And when I became an elected, I got to actually serve on the JPA for it, which was really fun to go from an advocate to somebody who could vote on things. And our JPA is the ones who are putting the money into new clean and renewable power builds, and they're at 61% clean and renewable. So really proud of that work and happy to be back in the area and be able to put some of my time towards this. So I know it's really easy to make plans and sometimes really hard to create action, but I think there's a lot of models out there that have been really successful, and there's no reason we shouldn't look at some of those and try to push them here.
Absolutely. Excellent. Okay, Pat Coran.
Hello, how's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon. Yeah, my name's Pat. I'm with the La Crosse Fire Department. I do all of our risk reduction programming and outreach. So basically we do community risk assessments. A lot of it has to do with based off our calls for service and things of that nature. But as we all know here today, climate is an inherent risk. So I feel like this sort of fits into my wheelhouse a little bit in terms of what I do professionally, but then also personally, very engaged and really excited about this. And then I also do some of the city's emergency management work along with our chief. So happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, and yeah, looking forward to working with everyone.
Wonderful. Peter Fletcher.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Peter Fletcher. I'm Director of La Crosse Area Planning Committee. We are the Metropolitan Planning Organization for La Crosse and urbanized area. And thanks for the invite to be part of the planning process. And it's great to see so many different people and organizations. We primarily focus on transportation and just look forward to working with everyone and hopefully moving decisions forward. So thank you.
Wonderful. Peter Gorski.
Yeah, I'm Peter Gorski. I work for the city. I'm at the public library. Like many have said, I'm very concerned about climate, to put it mildly. I think it's really the greatest challenge humanity has faced to this point. So I think it's all hands on deck. It sounds like we've got a lot of great experts here, so I'm glad to be a part of this team. And I really would like to foster more community engagement, get as many people on board as we can. Like I said, it's a huge project, this undertaking. So it's probably going to be a multi-year process of, getting everything in place. And so we really need that political will and public support built up to make sure, we can carry it through without having it fall to the wayside or be put on the back burner because we can't afford to do that anymore. So looking forward to, staying engaged and getting as many people as I can engaged with me.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. Robert Fisher. Is Robert? Oh, yeah, it looks like Robert's still there.
Hello.
Robert? Oh.
Yeah, I'm still technologically challenged. Faces, I think I may win the prize for being the chronologically oldest member of the team. I've lived in La Crosse for 52 years, retired planner from the Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, which is Peter's old organization also. I'm kind of a planning junkie. I serve on the board of directors of several organizations, Mississippi Valley Conservancy, the Wisconsin or Wygen-Hogan Neighborhood Association, several local or state and national rail passenger organizations. I'm a state delegate for the National Association of Rail Passengers. I'm educated at the beginning of my college training as a forester, served most of my professional career as a planner, and have been an arborist consultant for the last 20 some years, running my own consulting company. And I guess you mentioned the term about all things green and growy. That may be my area of expertise in terms of forestry, carbon sequestration, and urban arboriculture, et cetera. And also 34 years with the Regional Planning Commission, I was transportation planner. So I know something about mass transit and rail passenger service. And I somewhat feel like Forrest Gump. I know Glenn Jenkins about all the organizations that he'd been involved with. And I sort of feel that somehow, like Forrest Gump, I have touched on many of them. I'm not sure how effective I've been, but I've been around this field for a long time. And unfortunately, as Glenn also mentioned, I've seen some efforts kind of grow and then kind of fizzle. So I hope we can keep this going.
Superb. Thanks, Robert. Sam.
Hello, everybody. Sam Bachmeyer with the La Crosse Area Development Corporation, LADCO. LADCO is a nonprofit economic development organization here that represents La Crosse County. We have about 90 or so private members, and then each of the municipalities throughout La Crosse County are also members of ours. So as much of a concern as the environment is for our members, including the municipal members, it is a concern of ours as well. So looking forward to being able to bring thoughts and ideas from our members, large and small, and bring that back to this committee, as well as vice versa, transfer information from this committee and the results that come of this plan to our member businesses here in the community. So yeah, and on a personal level, I'm originally from Eau Claire, but graduated from Viterbo University in 2018 and have subsequently planted my roots here in La Crosse and don't plan on changing that anytime soon. So as much as it matters to me personally as well, I've fallen in love with the outdoors here and want to continue to see that to be an asset for our region here moving forward. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam. Thomas.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Main. I'm the Energy Service Director with CooleyCap, the local community action program. I administer the low-income weatherization and emergency heating program in La Crosse, Monroe, and Vernon County. Also do some focus on energy work. I guess my main concern of being in this group is to advocate as a voice for the low-income community. The low-income community carries a higher energy burden than everyone else, and they're also affected more by climate change, the impacts of climate change, the recent devastating flooding we had in the Driftless region, I think can be correlated to climate change, and low-income people carried a higher burden of the impact of that. So I just want to advocate for a voice for the low-income community.
Great, thanks, Tom. And Thomas Huberty.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thomas Huberty. I am on the comprehensive solutions team with Train, based in the upper Midwest here. And, for me, I think the professional reason why I'm here and my motivation are very intertwined. Obviously, Train's been a part of the La Crosse community since 1885 or so. And I think for Train, with its focus on climate solutions, beyond just the built environment, where most people kind of think of Train in their buildings and heating and cooling, being a conduit for this group between some of that global expertise that Train has, and really being able to bring that down to the local level. I think all the introductions today have been in and of itself motivating to me, is to see that sense of community and folks all pulling together for tackling some big challenges. It takes one step. As was mentioned earlier, you got to take one step to keep moving. And for Train, one of the slogans, if you will, or mission statements that we have is, changing an industry so that we can change the world. And I think that a microcosm of what this group can do too, and bringing real change and real impact down to the street level. So excited to meet everybody.
Great, thanks, Thomas. Tyler Durr.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hi. Tyler Durr. I've been a resident of La Crosse for 6 years now. Moved here for school at UWL and then graduated last year with a degree in software engineering. Recently married as a last year too. I have been kind of seeing news articles for this, for a very long time, and have sat on my hands and said, God, I should do something. I should do something, and haven't really gotten involved as much as I should or want to. And then saw the advertisement for this and thought, well, if I don't get involved now, eventually I'm going to be too late. So I put in the application and here I am. So yeah, thrilled that I'm in the group and excited to share my ideas.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you. Then let's see, I think I took a snapshot of the list. That's what I was going off of. And I think there were a couple of folks that were able to join in after I took the snapshot. I think we have, did I miss Chris? I'm sorry, is it Heath?
Hi, my name is Chris Shea. I'm here to represent ASHRAE La Crosse chapter. And the reason why I'm in here is part of the important mission from ASHRAE is trying to do the sustainability throughout the world. And also decarbonization is a very important part of heating and air conditioning. And so the things that we can help to do, hopefully that the way that we do conduct our business and be able to help the world moving forward. And I'm so excited to see the entire team here are excited about the creation of the team and also the action items that is going to be coming up from the team. I like your initial way of 4 blocks detailing the things that are asking this group to chime in, and I concurred in those 4 blocks are a very good way of managing projects moving forward. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chris. And then I think Lizzie Haywood, I missed.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Hello. Sorry I joined late, but so I'm Lizzie Haywood. I'm the CEO for People's Food Co-op here in La Crosse. And we have another store also in Rochester, Minnesota. Our stores have been merged since 2012. I've been a People's Food Co-op member since 2011 and on staff since 2012 and live in La Crescent. The mission of People's Food Co-op is people working together to build a sustainable community while treating all people with kindness and fairness. And there are many, many ways that the work of this group and the work that we each have potentially fits the mission of People's Food Co-op. But I think an important part of my representation of our company now is how we can engage with other entities to do some of the larger impact work that's really necessary. And personally, I really want to come at this with an approach of racial equity and make sure that that's front of mind for how I'm participating for our business as well. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, and then the last person I'm worried I may have missed. There's somebody on the phone. 9003. Did we get you?
Hi, this is Kathy Newman. I had to drop off because I kept getting kicked off of Zoom, so that's why I'm on the phone. I'm a longtime resident of La Crosse. I retired from UW Crosse Upward Bound program in 2013. And since then, I've filled up my time advocating for sustainability, renewable energy, public transportation, bicycling. I'm a member of the Coulee Region Sierra Club. I was part of the Ready for 100 team that helped pushed the city and county to pass a Ready for 100 resolutions. I was on the Sustainability Commission, and since it's been brought up a couple of times, it didn't die, it had puppies, and we're one of them. I'm also a member of La Crosse Area Transit Advocates, and we're having a upcoming Transit Equity Days, which will also help to highlight the role of public transportation in combating the climate crisis. I'm very excited to be on this team. I feel in the wider community and maybe in our country, the climate crisis is sort of on the level of, you know, a broken pipe in the basement. And I feel like our team can really help elevate that in the urgency of the situation, at least in our community. I'm also very excited that there are so many great advocates, action-oriented, and I think we can really come up with a strong plan that will really make a difference. And the other thing I hope is that we can start helping people to look at things differently, like why do streets only have to be for cars? Why if we have hunger at schools, do we have lawns but not gardens? Things like that. So I'm super excited to be part of this team. Thank you.
Wonderful. Is there anyone that I've missed? The lists kind of move around a little bit, so sometimes I miss somebody. Is there anybody that I missed?
Yes, this is
yeah, Ted, it's Dorothy Leonard.
Hi, Dorothy.
And I'm sorry, I apologize to everyone. I jumped on late. I had an important phone call I had to take. So I'm actually on the CAP steering committee, and very heartwarmed today to see the talent and the energy that people are willing to give to this project, which is, Kathy just mentioned it, and we were both on the city and county sustainability committee. This actually is this effort was part of the plan of merging and trying to get even better from what we had been doing as a city and county, and to take steps even further. My interest in this topic goes way back into the 70s. I'm a forest hydrologist from Michigan Tech, which is up near Lake Superior. I grew up in a little bay town on Lake Michigan, hence the forest and the hydrology. It's you know, I grew up with water and all the state land a kid could want. So I'm very interested from the 70s trying to preserve it and all the things we were doing then. And of course, wise enough in my older age to know that, you know, things happen and then they kind of wane and then they happen again. And I really think we're at a point where we're happening again. I've been involved in very, you know, quite a few, I know many of you from environmental groups in La Crosse. But most recently I retired from Viterbo after 25 years as a science administrator there. I currently still teach a couple ethics courses for them, and I try to get all those senior students as much. A couple of people mentioned they graduated from there, some global and environmental ethics before they leave college, so they're thinking about these things. In 2005 to 2009, I was a council member, and we brought the natural step through legislation to the city of La Crosse. And I worked with that with others and the former mayor, Tim Cabot. So really interested and heartwarmed that we're actually moving in the next step, as I consider the natural step in this process, and just couldn't be happier today to see such talent and willingness on the part of the community to step forward and give of your time to help us.
Great, thank you. And then Kevin, I see that I missed you and you put something in the chat, but would you like to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, my name is, again, Kevin Rindy with the Crosse Climate Emergency Management. Again, again, this group will definitely assist me with the changing climate and how we look at emergency planning, what things, you know, we can do in the future to be better planners, and then especially with response recovery, since climate is very dynamic, excuse me. And then just looking at the data to make better decisions and how we go about and how we can assist people in time of need.
Wonderful, excellent, thank you. Okay, I think Is that everybody? Is there anybody else that I missed? I think we have everybody. If I missed you, go ahead and speak up. While we do that, I'll go back to sharing my screen. Sorry, I gotta unbury my appropriate screen here. Okay. Well, you already saw this stuff. Let's move. Okay. Sorry, where I get myself reorganized. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing all that you did. I was taking notes. My handwriting is horrendous, so it's not fit for public consumption, unfortunately. But it's helpful. It was certainly helpful for me to get a good sense as to who's in the room, so to speak, and I hope very much for each other. Beyond the folks that are able to attend today, there are about 12 or so that were not able to attend today for all sorts of reasons, and we understand that. So there's others on the team too that you'll see pop up. So if you run across another teammate that you haven't seen before, go ahead and feel free to connect with them and ask them about themselves. So I wanted to share now a little bit about finishing out the overview of the process and then some of the tools that we'll have, just kind of give a little bit of sense as to what you might be able to expect in this process. So we have our CAP team that we just met. We are going to be organizing ourselves into sub-teams. They're not exactly the exact same teams blocks that are shown here, but I talked about before that this plan kind of touches a broad range of considerations, everything from buildings, energy, to trees, to water, to economy, etc. And so what we have found is that ideally it's great to be able to have some deep input from folks. And we also find that people like being able to kind of know what's going on throughout the plan, but it's really difficult to be involved in all of the parts of the plan without being super overwhelmed. And so to try to keep that from being too overwhelming, we're going to organize ourselves into subject subgroups. And what we're going to do is there will be a sign up spreadsheet that I'll send out following today's meeting. And I'm going to ask for you to sign up for one topic in each of the colored categories. There's a green category of topics, group 1. There's a yellow category of topics, group 2. And there's this sort of reddish brown grouping, group 3. And the reason for that is that if you sign up for just one topic in each of those groups, we're going to do, in some of our future meetings, we're going to be doing breakout sessions where the sub teams are collaborating amongst themselves. And so when we do a group breakout, we're going to do a group 1 breakout. And if you're signed up for 2 teams in group 1, you get split in half and it's very painful. So, but if you sign up for just one topic in each of those subgroups, you'll always have a home to go to when we do breakouts, and you won't be pulled into too many directions. Now, this will mean that there may be some topics that you really would love to be in, but you'll see that they overlap. And so you may have to pick one versus another. We have tried to organize these though, so that the groupings, there's no theme by group, because what we're trying to do is we found that some folks tend towards, some people are very sort of, technical minded. They think about energy systems and transportation systems and infrastructure kinds of things. And we find that some folks think very much about, they're very connected to green, growy things and, sort of natural infrastructure kind of considerations. Some folks are very connected into thinking about vulnerabilities of people and populations and addressing climate concerns related to how do we make sure our people are safe, and so health and safety kinds of issues. So we've tried to organize it such that that people with different sort of leanings, so to speak, or interests, hopefully will find a topic related to their interests in each one of those groupings. It's not a perfect system, but we try to, we're trying our best. So there should always hopefully be a topic that touches your expertise or your interest. If you find that for some reason, you may have superb expertise in a given category that really you want to be involved in the team, if for some reason you don't see how you can be on that team, but you think you really want to be, just let me know. We might be able to figure something out, but usually it works out. So everybody will sign up for you'll be on 3 sub-teams, 1 in each groupings, and the groupings again help us to break into pairings. And when we do our work, we'll come back together and we'll share a little bit about what happens. So we'll be able to hear about what's going on in the other groups. And then clearly as work is produced, everybody will have the chance to see all of that work and provide comments and feedback and so forth. So even if there's topics you're interested in, but you're not on the team, doesn't mean that you won't be able to engage in that topic. We're just trying to help keep us all sane with a reasonable workload. The session, so here, this kind of outlines our meetings that we're anticipating. We're here at number 1, our introduction. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on February 2nd. That's the vulnerability workshop. And I flagged it as, so there are some folks that have received direct invites. Those are folks that related to their expertise and or background or experience we're really hoping can be there. It's optional for everyone else. And by optional, it just means that we would love to have you there. We also recognize that we have a number of meetings overall. So we understand that you may or may not be able to be there. But the folks that have received a direct invite, we really hope can make it. And everyone else, we would really love to have you there if you're able to be there. And that vulnerability workshop, we will be looking at, Laura's going to be leading that with us, and we're going to be looking at the climate change in the area, vulnerabilities in the area, and helping us to kind of get sort of a sense of where our priorities are and should be related to climate vulnerabilities. The next meeting after that will be February 16th, and that we're definitely hoping for everybody back in the room, so to speak. And we will go over some baseline documents, share with you some background information, which I'll touch on in a second. But basically share with you a lot of information, research that we've done in the area. And we're going to then start our breakouts going into our sub-teams and having the sub-teams talk a little bit about goal setting. And so then in meeting 3, 4, 5, and 6, those meetings are going to be almost entirely breakout. There'll be a little bit at the beginning where I might sort of position, what's our task for the day kind of a thing. But then we'll go through rounds of breakouts. We'll come back together after the breakouts and have feedback on how things are going, just kind of updates, a brief update from each sub-team. And in those sessions, we will finish our goal setting conversations. We will start looking and exploring at potential actions to support those goals. We'll refine those actions. We will then also kind of rate those actions against criteria that you as a team will decide what's the important criteria that we review them against. And towards the last workshop, we will also be starting to think a little bit about implementation and what sorts of resources and organizations might be in the community that might be potential partners or potential advocates that that may be able to play a role in implementation. And then after that, workshop 6, we will Pale Blue Dot will go off. We'll start drafting the full draft plan based on all of that input, and then we'll review it together in that meeting 7, which really begins the review process. So we'll review it, and then everybody will have a chance to do as detailed of a review as they would like. So our next couple meetings here are paced every other week, every 2 weeks. But once we get to workshop 3 and beyond, it's the pacing is once a month. And so the reason for once a month is there will be a little bit of homework between the workshop sessions using some of our tools, which I'll talk about in a second. And we don't want to be too heavy on everybody's schedule. So, and the amount of time between the workshops, some folks I know have shared with me they've spent 4 to 8 hours maybe between the workshops. Other folks have a little extra time and they're really focused, and they may spend more time than that. So you can dig in as deeply as you want, but hopefully it's not too onerous of a participation. It is definitely a commitment. So we're extremely grateful for your work as a part of the team, though, of course. And I should have had that up there. So again, the bulk of our meetings are going to be highly collaborative. That workshop, that 2B, that goal setting meeting, still going to have a little bit of TED talking at you, and I'm sorry for that, but much of this is going to be very collaborative. So, which I personally love. Some technology considerations. So right now we are anticipating that our meetings are in Zoom. Of course, as this whole COVID experience does whatever it's doing, that might change, but for now we'll plan for Zoom meetings, which by the way it does have some advantages and it has some disadvantages, of course. So that means everybody will need access to a Zoom compatible computer or mobile device. Computers will work best into the future, but of course, connectivity problems and all that stuff is real. So the workshops should all be able to also be supported in a mobile device. If you have an iPad that you log in, or a phone or something like that, you should still be able to participate. If you're able, try to participate via computer, though. It'll probably be easier for you. It'll be easier on you. We will also work in some shared documents that enables us to, it's kind of like putting a big board up on the wall and people can scribble on it. It's our remote meeting tools to do that. So we'll use some shared documents. One of them will be in a Google Drive document, a Google document. And some of them will be in Microsoft OneDrive. There'll be Excel spreadsheets, for instance, that are in Microsoft OneDrive. A couple thoughts related to that. First, you will need to be able to have access to a computer between our workshops in order to work on some of those materials. So that can be a Mac, it can be a PC, it can be a laptop. You can access it on a mobile device, but I've known folks to be really frustrated about that because one tool, for instance, is an Excel-based tool. Excel technically is functional on a mobile device, but they haven't really worked it out well. So I'm sorry for that. So between the meetings, if you can anticipate being able to access a computer for accessing of those materials, that would be great. If access to a computer is a challenge for anybody, just let me know. We'll work on something. We'll figure out. We'll work around whatever needs to be worked around. Another couple comments for that shared document in Google. You should not have to create a free Google account in order to access it. So if it comes up asking you for an account, there might be something goofy, but you shouldn't have to create an account in either Google or in Microsoft in order to access the documents. By the way, the shared documents, both in Google and Microsoft, you will need to work on online. That's the magic of the shared document. So when you pull up an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, you'll actually be in a browser and you'll work on the browser, not on your Excel account that might be on your computer itself. And don't worry, I'll go over this again at the right time, but I just want to give a heads up. So the reason why I'm taking a little bit of labor here is just these shared accounts I have, by and large, they work well. As I say, mobile devices sometimes are not fully compatible. So I want folks to just kind of be aware that computer will work much better. If there's an issue with that, let me know. The other thing to know about is that if you are using a work computer, sometimes I have found that some IT departments, I don't know if it's a firewall or what, but somehow they kind of keep computers from accessing shared file sources like Google or Microsoft OneDrive. So what I'd like for to happen is to have everybody test. I'll send out a couple of shared documents and just test it by just opening it. And you don't have to tell, if you can open it, that's great. You don't need to report back or anything like that. But if you cannot open it, let me know. And more importantly, if you're working on a computer machine, you probably should connect with your IT folks to see if they can help you get around it. So that's why I want to put it out there, is that when we get through our future meetings, this will be important to help everybody work together. Okay, any questions with any of that so far? And I've got just a little bit more. Okay, I'm not seeing any raised hands. All righty. Okay, so a little bit about some of the tools and support that we will have for this process. The first thing I want to touch on is foundational documents. I mentioned research and documentation. Those documents, these all say City of Edina. It's just a representation because this is a recent past project. So it gives you an example of what we'll be producing. And we'll be sharing these here shortly. We are producing a vulnerability assessment. So that's going to look at climate vulnerabilities in the community, you know, climate change projections, et cetera. We are also updating the city's greenhouse gas inventory. So kind of what is the breakdown of our emissions? How does it relate over a couple of years worth of history that the city has? We are also creating a ground cover survey. So that document is looking at ground cover and all of its characteristics. So trees, grasses, impervious surfaces that are dark, impervious surfaces that are light. And from that, we are calculating carbon sequestration baselines and also heat island impacts, things like that. So it'll have a lot of information we can use to sort of address some of those concerns. We're also doing a renewable energy potential study. So just kind of high level, trying to get a good sense as to, you know, what's the potential for on-site renewable energy in the community. And we do that because we've seen lots of climate action plans that may have very robust goals, like we want to see 60% on-site renewable energy by 2030. And then when you look at the community, just looking at the sort of makeup of the community physically and the energy consumption, I end up observing, well, it may not actually be possible to quite do that. You can get the renewable energy, but maybe it's not going to, maybe it's going to be community renewables, for instance. So I just like doing that just to kind of give us a litmus test for what's the ballpark of what is feasible. And so those documents, those 4 documents are, it's more document than anybody wants to read. You absolutely can. Some of you will want to read them because they relate to your work or a specific focus or interest area you have, et cetera. But we also recognize not everybody wants to go read an 80-page document about tree canopy coverage. So what we do is we are summarizing all of that information into a couple pages worth of information, as well as starter suggested strategies, strategic goals for each of the sectors. So if you're on 3 teams, you'll have 3 sections in the summary document that we will want you to read through. Each of those sections, again, it might be 2 to 4 pages worth of some data and information summarized. And then here are starter goals that we're just putting out there for the team to consider. So that document will be much more of a summary kind of a document. That's the one that we're hoping everybody on the team will be able to look at their sections. You can look at all of the sections, but at the very least, if you can look at your 3 team sections, that'd be great. And don't worry, I'll repeat this in the future, so you don't have to memorize all this. But the point is, I want you to know is that we're trying to give you some background information. We're going to summarize it so that hopefully you don't get flooded with data. But for those of you that are like me and really love data, it'll be there. So you'll have other documents that you can dig into that are community specific. So in addition to the foundational documents, another tool that we'll have that we'll bring to bear is a tool that we call the Action Finder. The Action Finder is a robust database of strategies and actions from climate action plans all over the Midwest, all over the United States, actually. I don't even know how many cities now are any longer are represented in the Action Finder anymore. We've put this tool together for a few reasons. First of all, we found that teams, working with broad teams, some folks really, just our personalities are such that we really know how to, we think in terms of action statements, and we kind of get it intuitively. And then some of us, we don't necessarily think in terms of action statements, and we're kind of wondering, what does a good action statement even look like? And I'd like to see some stuff before I start trying to come up with ideas or deciding what ideas I like. So we wanted a tool that people could explore ideas. We also wanted that tool to be able to kind of help us do a little bit of a best practice research. Just what are other communities doing, and what sorts of things, these seem like really good actions. Why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, kind of a thing. Let's see what's out there. And we also wanted a tool where people could work together collaboratively. And so the Action Finder tool helps us do that. It is a highly searchable database. You can search for strategies and detailed actions. You can search for them based on keyword or phrase. So if you're interested in a certain word or phrase, you type it in, and then the cells that have that highlight in a color. You can also collapse the list and look at different actions based on, the cost level of an action, if it's reported, time frame, whether it's a near-term or a long-term action, what kind of policy it is, whether it's an example policy, an incentive policy, a requirement, et cetera, those 4 categorizations that I gave. You can also explore it based on cities. Each community that the action came from is listed. So if you just want to say, I've heard a lot about Evanston, Illinois. I want to see what Evanston, Illinois is doing. You can collapse the list and look just at Evanston's. And you can also look at it in terms of what year was the plan put together. And lastly, it has reviewer input space, so that as people work on exploring ideas, and by the way, you can create ideas in the document itself. So you can just add ideas as you see fit, as you are inspired. But as you see actions that you're interested in, as you create an action that you think are interesting, there's an opportunity for each team member has their own sort of space that they can track comments, write ideas, identify things that they like, see an action that they like, and suggest how it could be better for La Crosse, etc. So that tool will be a part of, and we'll go through a training on how it works, but the intent here is to just let you know that we have a tool to kind of help explore and create actions collaboratively. Another tool we're going to use is action screening criteria. And this basically is just, we have a large list of potential criteria, and we keep adding to it every time we come across a new, better criteria. And what we're going to do is in one of our earlier meetings, we are going to collectively do sort of a voting on what screening criteria do we want to use against our actions. And so the intent here is, of course, we want actions that are going to help us reduce greenhouse gas effectively, or help us mitigate the effects of climate change effectively and help us adapt our community, become more resilient. Of course, we want effective ones. But the one action versus another action, it's more than just how effective is it at greenhouse gas reduction. It's how well does it fit our community? How good is this going to be for La Crosse versus Chicago or Los Angeles? And so some of those kind of co-considerations, what we'll do is we'll work with you to identify what criteria does this team want to use to review actions against. And so we will create those together and then use that in the future. So another tool that we have is a team web page. This I'll send out it's on the agenda, by the way, but I'll also send this out to the team email. It's pale blue dot period LLC and then / lacrosse-cap. This webpage is just for team members. It is password protected, and I'll send out the password in the email to the team members. The reason why it's password protected is not because we have any mysterious thing in here that we don't want people to know about. It's because we will be sharing documents in this at this location. And those documents are the work that we will be working on together. And so we don't want somebody to accidentally come along and delete your work or to see a thought that's half finished. So we're just trying to make sure it's a safe space for our team to work together and to access information. I'll take you on a tour of this at our next meeting, but this website, when I send it out, if you can you may want to save it in your browser, bookmarks, and just save the password right into your computer so that it knows the password. It'll be much easier. But every meeting that we have, the agenda and anything that we share will show up on this website. The documents that we produce for background information and along the way will show up on this website. There is a place for the files that we produce will also be downloadable in a download folder, and there's an upload file. So if you come across something that you want to share with the group, and it's like some big study and you want to share it with everybody, you can upload it to me and I can get it on the website for everybody. So it's a resource for the team. It's where we'll send all of our stuff there. So you'll always be able to find what we're doing on that page. Okay, any other questions at all? I'll do a quick tour through the list just to see if there's any hands raised. Don't see any other hands. Okay, so I just want to touch on community engagement just to kind of give you a sense of what will be happening. So in addition to the planning efforts that we're going to be doing here collaboratively, we do have engagement efforts that are going on. We have them going on in 2 phases. The first phase is happening now and it's going through April. So we have in that community engagement meetings. Also, we've done some event tabling. We've got online survey out there for folks to provide input. Huda, our equity partner, is organizing and will be putting on equity listening sessions with different partner organizations throughout the community. We also are enabling folks to share with us their perspectives through community art. And we have a public website that we've put together and a social media toolkit that can help support sort of getting the information out to the public. That engagement effort that we're doing now, so there's community meetings and the engagement, equity listening sessions and so forth, are going to happen in this first phase with a heavy focus towards just getting input, people's perspectives, their feelings, their ideas, what they think could be done, etc. And then we're going to repeat those sessions in later phases after this team has been able to come up with a draft plan. We're going to go through that same kind of engagement effort with the draft plan, with a focus on getting input on that draft plan specifically. In addition, we'll also do another online presence, so an opportunity for folks to review the draft plan online. We are going to also be organizing a youth engagement event. We're aiming, we think, towards the summer, but we're just now in the process of planning that. And then, as I said, equity listening sessions, we'll do another round of equity listening sessions. The second one being focused on input specific to the plan, with a heightened focus on making sure that how might the final plan be as supportive as possible for equity considerations. As I mentioned, so as a part of that, we have the public web page that has been put together. This web page will outlast the project. It will continue on, and it will be able to transition into a dashboard for the city to track its progress and share its progress for the climate action plan. So right now it's all about the planning process and engagement, and then it will evolve. All that information will still be there, but we'll be able to add layers onto it related to dashboards and a toolkit, how folks can get involved in implementation, etc. So the website is Crosse Climate Action Plan, all one big word, .org. There are some ongoing engagement opportunities happening right now, as I've mentioned. The first is the Climate Action Survey that is accessible off of that webpage. It's that little sort of call to action button survey. People click that, they can take the survey, input survey, and we are definitely wanting to get as many folks to take that as possible. There's also the Climate Stories Project, so the opportunity to input via art, and so this is broad. People can share a climate story in writing. It can be a concern that they can have. It can be literally a story of the future. It could be their vision of what a climate resilient La Crosse might look like. It can be in writing. It can be a video that can actually log onto their machine right there, and there's a widget embedded that they can record a video if they wish. They can also submit files, artwork, videos that were put together elsewhere, other documents that are in writing, for instance. So we're definitely encouraging for folks to share the Climate Stories Project. I kind of think of it as like the left brain, right brain kind of input. You know, the survey is, you know, here's specific questions that we're looking for answers, kind of a left brainy kind of experience. And then Climate Stories is open-ended, the opportunity to share in all sorts of ways. Could be art, could be verbal, could be music. So very right brain kind of a way of providing input. So we're just trying to give as many ways as possible for people to be heard. The Climate Action Survey, we're going to keep open until about, probably mid-April. And then that input, we're going to start summarizing so that we can give back to this team in the right time frame. So you will be able to hear what people give in the survey as you are thinking about actions. The Climate Stories Project will probably keep open as long as we can, might go into the summer. And how we use the Climate Stories Project, we're not yet certain, and it's only because we're not yet certain what all we will receive. So we maybe do a gallery installation. Maybe we do, a presence online of videos and music and so forth. Maybe we put together a little publication of the stories that are submitted. So that's kind of flexible. We'll see what comes around, what is offered up from folks, and then we'll think of the best way to share that. Also on the website is an events list. So all of the meetings or presentations that we have planned as they get planned go on the website. So it shares where we're going and when. So all of these things are ways for folks to kind of track along and participate. And if you're at all able and interested in helping to get the word out, we have a social media kit. So these little reduced file shorteners, you saw that I had a problem with one. I'm hoping this one works. Cutly /ZIE/VBEB, how horrible. But this hopefully will also be linked on, it's accessible on the team page, by the way, and I'll include it in the follow-up directly. So you can access on the team page the social media kit. And so it's got, content that you can use for a newsletter, for an email, for social media posts, etc. If you're at all able and interested in helping to support getting the word out, to get folks to hopefully participate in taking the survey, submitting a climate story, being aware of the events that are being planned, etc. Okay, so that's what I have for my end of it. And I'll just be quiet for a sec just to see if there's any questions or comments, and then I'll talk a little bit about our next steps.
This is Kathy Van Maren. I mentioned that we're having a transit equity days coming up January 31st through February 4th. It's not a climate specific event, but it's definitely related to climate action and the climate action plan. And I'm wondering if there's any things set up a way for groups like ours who might be planning an event, either in-house or a community event, that is related to connect quickly with whoever to say, hey, we're doing this event. Can you be involved? Can you help sponsor? Can we get our event on your calendar or something like that? Thank you.
Yeah, so we do, that might be, if I'm understanding what you're looking at there, we have flyers, little business cards that talk about the survey and climate stories opportunities and the social media kit. And we could kind of bundle that together into something that could be shared with folks, you know, flyers at the table, an announcement at the beginning of a presentation or something like that, and links to back to that public website where everything is accessible. So I'm not sure if I'm answering you that, but I think the social media kit plus the flyers could support that.
I guess, yes, I was asking about our specific event, but I was also asking in general terms, if a group like FSPA or Sierra Club or somebody is doing something, is there a quick portal so you don't have to go through like 5 levels of menus to find somebody to connect and say, you know, here's an opportunity for the climate action planning team to reach out and for us to share your information. So beyond the specific stuff we could get for an event, is there a pathway to reach somebody to get the information? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm fully understanding. So the ability for people in the audience to know how to get information about the planning process and how they can engage?
No, like I know Lewis, so I could just email Lewis and say, hey, we're doing this event. Can the climate action plan be part of it or something? But not everybody out there does. And plus he's very busy and he doesn't want me to email him every day about stuff. So I'm saying, is there, maybe you could make like are you having an event and you want climate action plan team information there or something? Click here. Is there some way to connect quickly with the climate action plan process for people who might be holding an event or a program or a speaker that's related?
Oh, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. So we don't have that set up necessarily. However, we are, so there's one thing that is underway. When we release the baseline documents, we will also be releasing what we call a meeting in a box. And so what that will enable is any group that wants to have their, say there's a neighborhood organization or the Sierra or Sierra Club or whatever, some organization has a meeting and they would like to facilitate a conversation or have a conversation with their members or their neighbors or community organization around the climate action plan. We will have a meeting in a box toolkit that will enable a group to have their discussion amongst themselves, amongst their constituents, and a place for that information to be shared back. Just a simple sharing through a shared file, actually a Google Doc, where they can report the input, the consensus of the group. So that will be available. It's not yet available, but it will be by our next large group meeting on the 16th of February. So that will be available to anyone and everyone. We do, as far as presentations from Pale Blue Dot and our team, we have a kind of a limited number of workshops or community presentations that we've anticipated. So we weren't necessarily anticipating being able to attend any and all events that folks are interested in. But if there is an interest, we'd certainly like to collect that info and see how we might be able to stitch together as many presentations as we possibly can. So we could, there is a contact link on the webpage, the public webpage, which is the best way for anybody to request or illustrate an interest in that, is just to contact us through that. And we can share with them the meeting in the box content, as well as, you know, explore whether or not a presentation is in line and makes sense.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just next steps. The first thing, and I'll send this out via follow-up email. The first thing is, if you could please, if you haven't already, if you can please access the team contact spreadsheet and just make sure that your follow-up and that your contact information is correct. You know, that I've got your name spelled correctly. If I say that you're a member of an organization, that's true. Just make sure that the contact information is correct, and your email, which if you get the follow-up email, is probably true. But if you can double check that, the next thing is to access the sub-team group sign up. And again, I'll share a link through the follow-up email, but just sign up for one group, one sub-team in each of those 3 groupings. And again, the instructions will be repeated. And then just our next couple of things you can anticipate is we've got the vulnerability workshop on February 2nd that Laura is going to be running. We will be issuing our baseline documents in early February. And then our next full team meeting is the goal setting meeting workshop on February 16th. So those are our next steps. And with that, I think we are a few minutes over the schedule. I'm sorry about that. But I'll stay here if there's any questions anybody has. Otherwise, thank you so much, everybody. First of all, for, of course, being here this afternoon, for those of you that could make it. And especially for everyone, even those that could not be here, thank you so much for participating in the team. It is actually an amazing service that you're doing for the city, and I'm excited to work with you all. So thank you very much.